Hey YouTube, welcome back. We got another project going. I found this old 3-inch artillery cartridge in my garage. I got a couple of them, and what I'm gonna do with this is I want to refurb it and make it eventually into a hanging, nice looking brass bell to hang up in the house. So I'll show you what this is here. There's the cartridge, okay, or artillery shell. And I've had it for a while, probably since, let's say, 1993. Show you what this is here. Okay, there's the base. Can't see much on it now. I'm going to give it a quick wipe down with mineral spirits, and we'll see what it looks like. The history behind it is when I worked for Weatherby Firearms, and we moved the company from Southgate up to Atascadero. Initially, it was going to be Paso Robles, but then City Council had a thing with not having firearms manufactured in Paso and all the hazmat that went along with having a shooting range and possibly bluing tanks. So they moved the company to Atascadero. This was part of what was in storage in our old skating rink warehouse. We had a skating rink off of Firestone Boulevard, which was popular in the, I'm going to say, it goes back to the late 40s and especially the 50s. And it was really cool. It was a huge, huge skating rink that we used as our storage and did some boxing there and stuff like that. So in that storage skating rink, Roy Weatherby had some antique cars and just all kinds of stuff. Some of the polar bears he had killed up in Alaska, that he had stuff that they had no room in the store for. They put into storage in there. So as we cleaned it out to move up to Atascadero, there was all kinds of stuff we were finding, and I was given the opportunity to have these, two of these. I think one is a little bigger, but shorter. I'm not sure what it is. I'm using it to hold broom handles and stuff right now. Got this cartridge. So I'm going to clean it up, and we're going to see what that's going to look like and see if it's something I can convert into a nice looking chiming bell. All right, so I'm going to wipe it down with mineral spirits first, see what we got, and we'll go from there. So I've got the shell out here, and what I'm going to do is I just filled it with water and a little bit of baking soda. And then next, I'm going to go ahead and put in this some Effordent tablets. I found they work really well, like when you're cleaning, trying to get mineralization and stuff out of like a container, like a thermos bottle or even a coffee carafe. They work really good. So I'm going to throw them in there and see if some of the grunge and dirt and stuff that was in there, see if that'll loosen that up, because we're not going to be polishing that or anything. No one's going to see the inside. So I'm going to throw that in there and let it sit for a couple of hours. And that should clean it up on the inside so we don't have all that grunge in there. This is just after a few minutes here, maybe about 5 minutes, and you can already see the dirt being pulled out of there. So it is working. That's a good sign. Okay, all in all, not too bad. You know, it doesn't look like it has too many dents in it. You can see the head stamp. Got a few dents up here. Not a big deal. But one thing I noticed on this, it looks like there is lacquer. This has been lacquered. So maybe in production it was lacquered to protect it during wartime, transportation, whatever, from moisture. Don't know. I'm not that versed on artillery shells. If you guys know, put it in the comments section if that's lacquered. I don't think the 30% vinegar is going to have any trouble taking that off. Also, you'll notice here it had some scratches on it, and I went ahead and took those out with some 220 peroxide paper. I think there was another spot over here. So hopefully that'll all buff out. I'm gonna try and do it all by hand. We'll see. All right. Next step is going to be the vinegar soak. We'll get that set up. Okay, so I've started with about a quart of water, and now we're going to add the vinegar, 30% vinegar, and see if I've got enough to get this thing covered. It's going to be close. Very close. Again, I emphasize protect your hands, protect your fingers. You only got 2 hands. I know you got 10 fingers. You might be able to do without a couple, but who wants to if you don't have to? Be smart. Protect your hands. Okay. I don't think I'm going to have enough. So I may just add some 5% vinegar. There we go. Some 5%. Looks like we're just not gonna make it. So what are we going to do? We're going to wick. Wicking will take care of this. And had I been smart, I might have taken this sleeve here, wrapped it around the whole thing, so it would wick really nice all the way around. But I didn't do that, so we'll try something else here. Go ahead and see if this will do the trick. There we go. Back end all the way up to the front. And you can see the wicking going on right now. Another small towel of some sort. go. Okay. That's going to be our soak. Should do the trick. Make sure it's all on there and up against everything. There. Yeah, putting a whole sleeve around it probably would have been a really good idea. Get that right up against it. But we can come back if we have to. And it's about 2:15, so we want to at least let this go for probably, I'd say, 3 or 4 hours. And we'll have a look. Okay, I'm gonna put a cover on this and we'll come back later. So welcome back, everyone. It's been about 5 hours. Well, not for you, but for me. I can see where I didn't get wicked completely here. So what I'm going to do is, after I looked at this, it all looks pretty good. There we go. All looks pretty good. I think we're just going to spin this around, and then we'll let it soak overnight. So we'll do that. Let's see what the other side looks like. Oh yeah, that's looking good. That is looking good. Yeah, good. And that's, look at that. That is just coming right off of there. That's good. Yeah. So I'm going to wipe this down a little bit just with the wicking rags. And we'll let them do the work on the other side and take a look at it in the morning tomorrow. All right. We'll see you then. So after pulling this out of the vinegar bath, we've got some pretty interesting looking little residual marks here from where the wicks I had really made some interesting, almost looks like the Firebird or whatever, American Indian symbols. That would be kind of interesting to be able to control this. Really makes for some pretty patterns. So something to look into in the future. Maybe something to play with. So anyway, now next is going to be seeing what we're going to do to scrub this down and bring out the luster. So the inside is looking a little grody in here. You can see that. So we're going to have to scrub that out. So what I'm going to do is drop a little baking soda in. That'll neutralize the any residual acid. little scrubber here, just from a Scotch-Brite cleaning pad. And we're just going to stick that in there and do a little scrubbing. I'll get down there and scrub on the edges. And that should clean us up and get that stuff off. Which, yeah, that'll take care of business. All right. So, I've been trying a few different things here, and looks like what's working best right now is a solution that they figured out in when I was in gunsmithing school back in Colorado School of Trades. This staining here and the staining we got, all of this stuff the staining's really hard to get out when you're just using the quadruple-aught steel wool. So you can make a mixture of ammonia, Comet, and you want the fine powder stuff, and bleach, just regular bleach, not the thick stuff, the watery kind. And you mix it up in a slurry. And what you do is you put in your Comet, or you might put in like what you think you're going to use initially, a cap full of, and when I say a cap full, I'm talking about something like this, one of these medicine caps. So you do like maybe a half a cap of ammonia, half a cap of bleach. And then you start adding your Comet until you develop a paste. So you can see this is now a paste in here. And the Comet, the ammonia and the bleach together, of course you put that together, you're going to make fumes. So highly recommend do it outside or where you have good ventilation. I have my fan going here and the door open, and then that way I got good airflow in here, because this does make noxious fumes. You don't want to be breathing that stuff. And of course you want to be wearing your gloves. So I'm going to continue rubbing this whole thing down with this slurry of what I made here, and see what's left to get out, and then concentrate on the harder spots. We'll see how that works. Where this came up from, though, was when I was in gunsmithing school, like I was mentioning before, we were doing electroless nickel finishing, and I have a video on that, a few videos back, where I electroless nickel plated by boiling right on the kitchen stove. And I was doing a frame, 45 frame. Stuff's great. You know, it's a molecular bond to the base metal. Well, it does stain. And to get those stains out, this was the recommendation that actually came from the e-nickel plating company that sent us the solution at the school. They said this combination, mix it into a slurry, rub it on with either a cloth or very fine steel wool, and you'll get the stains out. And it works great on e-nickel, and it doesn't work too bad on the brass either. It's not up to the luster I want, but after I get this done, then we'll see what the next level of buffing we might want to do. Something that isn't going to take a lot of time. All right, I'm going to get to this and we'll see the results. So I've done a initial wipe down of the shell. This took me roughly about an hour. And the amount of slurry I made, you saw what I started out with, I still have a little left. So the use of materials was not that much. And this is what's left of the quadruple aught steel wool. You know, yeah, you can't use this again. I mean, it's done. And I wiped the shell down with some paper towels. Now I'm going to throw all this stuff away, get this all cleaned up. But you can see the shell here. It has its issues. There's some blemishes and stuff on it, some scratches that I might want to work out and chase with a little bit of 400 and 600 grit alloxite paper. Get those out, smooth everything down. But it didn't come out bad. It's by no means done. There's the base of the shell. And you can see some of the markings now. I'm happy with it, and still have some blemishes to take care of. And then when that is complete, when I'm happy with getting all the staining out, I'm going to use some rubbing compound. Probably have to get some more. I'm running out of this, so I might have to make a trip to the store, get a little more. But we're using the minimum amount of materials. You can go out, you can buy the expensive brass cleaners and flits. Those things are expensive, and I'm trying to show that you can do something like this and do metal restoring with things you have around the house. Bleach, vinegar, some steel wool, some Comet, and you can do a pretty good job. So I'm going to chase these things out with a little alloxite paper and go through and kind of hit some of the areas that still have a little staining, and then do the rubbing compound. We should be done. So I'll get back to you after I get done with that. Pretty happy here now with the way things ended up. The artillery shell polished up very nicely. As you can see, you can clearly see all our markings. And just to go through our progression of what we did to get to this point. We started out with, as you recall, some stain remover with the combination of Comet, bleach, and ammonia. Rubbed that in. I used some 320 grit alloxite paper from 3M to get the heavier scarring out. And then I went into a 400 grit wet dry paper all over the entire shell until I was ready to progress with 600. Use the 600 wet dry. You can see, got that from 3M. There's other manufacturers. Then I went to a crocus cloth, which is ultra fine, and then kind of brought it back to even out the sheen and the shine with quadruple aught steel wool. And this was after initially steel wooling the entire thing, just to see where I was at, to go start with the stain removal and then the heavier spots. And then I moved on to a rubbing compound on a rag and hand buffed. This is all done by hand, no machinery. And I used things like pieces of foam. This was a block I made from a foam noodle. You can see there. Just use that. And pink pearl eraser, invaluable. Get some pink pearl erasers. They make great sanding blocks. So you can see things turned out pretty nice. Next project is to make this into a bell. So I'm going to make a nice artillery shell bell out of this. That'll be another project. And there you can see very basically what I used. There's my used sandpaper. I brush it off with a kind of a heavy bristle brush after I've used it, and reuse it again, reuse it again. You make your scratches all go one way, like for instance when you're using the 400, you go back and forth this direction, then you come back with used 400, go the other direction, up and down the entire shell, then you come back with 600, take out your 400 scratches. You always go in an opposite direction or a slightly different direction to make sure those scratches come out. And there's still some scratches in it. And I may go ahead before I make the bell, take some more rubbing compound and maybe put on a rotary buffing wheel that I can put on my drill and go over it real quick with that just to give it a little extra shine. But there we go. So hope you enjoyed that. Maybe learn something. See, you can do a lot of stuff at home without getting the professional cleaners, brass cleaners, copper cleaners. And you can do stuff with a lot of things you have around home. So all these things, there's versions of this in Scotch-Brite, heavier steel wools. A lot of way to do this. If you have suggestions or comments, leave them below. And if you like the video, give it a like. And as we always say, life is good here in Idaho. Live free or die, folks.